the work from home is out. So everybody is coming back to the office.
Yeah, no, commercial real estate has been doing very well this year.
See, the MSME growth has started slowly. Who will survive in this manner?
How much of a long-term impact it will have, it remains to be seen.
Welcome back to another episode of the News Roundup with Prop News Time. Here we sit down with industry experts to discuss the latest events and news that impact the real estate sector. With me today is Mr. Balaji Rao and Mr. Abhay Rao. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd like to talk about the commercial real estate market. India's office market has had a great first half of 2025. We've seen almost 49 million square feet being absorbed in the major markets. First, I'd like to ask, how do you see the next half of the year going? Do you see us being able to keep up the same momentum?
See, it's very difficult to talk about commercial. The momentum will be there because commercial depends a lot upon the supply and the plans of various companies, especially the GCC centers which are coming up.
Right.
So, if the supply is there and there is a lot of geopolitical play at the moment, and it is not going to impact the sentiment. That means if a country puts pressure on its corporations not to go abroad,
Right.
then maybe there will be a slight slack suddenly, and offtake might be lesser. But whichever way it looks like, a gross absorption of almost 50 million square feet, and maybe the net absorption I feel would be around 35, 36 million square feet, I think is a great plus. Big plus.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple of things that have come to stay for our commercial sector. One, the work from home is out.
Correct.
It's all work from office because
Yes.
people are realizing in a developing country it's not at all easy to work from home.
Right.
Okay, so you can do it once in a while, but it is cannot be the primary place of this thing. So everybody is coming back to the office.
Yes.
Two, the growth of GCC clearly establishes us as having a very talented manpower pool,
Right.
skilled manpower pool, which can do a lot of work for global corporations around the world.
Right.
Okay, and as far as I remember the last statistics, almost out of the top 2,000 corporations, almost 1,200 of them have their GCCs in India already.
That's very
Okay,
interesting.
and that is only growing every day.
Right.
Because you want to have a slightly more cheaper, economical manpower pool, which can do the steady work of operations.
Right.
And now what we are doing is even in advanced engineering like research and all that, we are being able to easily support the global operations of large companies.
Right.
So given this sort of a pool which Indian talent has,
Yes.
and given the cost structure,
Yes.
I'm only confident that it will keep growing.
Right.
The headwinds are the geopolitics, the bit of war out here, tariffs and this and that might create a bit of issue. But otherwise, I think the strident progress we have made
Yeah.
in the growth of this and the way our REIT incomes are growing and the way our commercial property footprint is growing is something to be envied. And the rest of the world does envy us to that extent.
Yeah, no, commercial real estate has been doing very well this year. Now, whether it will continue at the same pace or not remains to be seen. There's like we said, there are a few headwinds at the moment, but how much of a long-term impact it will have, it remains to be seen. But whether it's, recently there was a news circulating that they want to try and stop the US companies from shifting more of their back end
Right.
towards India, which would
Yes.
definitely then be a big impact on our
Yeah.
commercial real estate. But whether those companies actually follow through and do that remains to be seen, because most of them would be actually quite happy with the operations in India,
Right.
and it is not coming from them, it is coming from a political stance,
Yes.
So this kind of a thing, even if there is a setback, it will be very temporary.
Right.
The long-term prospect for Indian commercial real estate is still really good and will continue to remain that way, especially as we are now noticing that even in the places where the real estate picked up faster than infra,
Yeah.
especially in terms of commercial. Now the government, especially during this monsoons, has been eye-opening and has realized that, hey, we need to start working on upping the infra game in these areas as well. Because otherwise, while commercial has grown, it needs to have everything else around it to sustain that.
Right.
And with that now being in their sites, and in the government sites, and that being another focus of theirs, I feel commercial will also only continue to do well.
Right.
Yeah, even the headwinds that they face will only be very temporary at best.
And there's one more peculiar dimension which people sometimes don't think of. Like, say, all this geopolitical situation and tariff war, this is going to make the Indian rupee weaker. Correct?
Yes.
So when the Indian rupee becomes weaker, our exports become more competitive. Our
Right.
imports become expensive. So we will have a hit on the oil bill or whatever it is. But our exports become more competitive.
Yes.
And actually, in the service sector, we are exporting. So for
Yes.
a global corporation, immediately the cost
Becomes
comes
Reduces.
lower.
down.
Right.
You know, whether it's of the labor, the talent pool, or the infrastructure, or the commercial property, or the rentals. So I personally feel overall, when you look at it, it's going to be a very good thing. And as long as there's not going to be tremendous nationalism on the rise all over, because for a multinational company, one country cannot do it. Because for that company, it has operations all over in other countries. It has to be competitive in other countries.
Right.
It cannot just be domestic oriented.
Yes.
Okay, so they naturally will fight back to say, look, it's not just for one country that there is a GCC.
Right.
It is across the world they are giving.
Yeah.
So I would tend to believe this will blow over these clouds, as Abhay rightly put, and I think we will see the surge and growth of the commercial sector in the quarters and the years to come, definitely.
Right. So speaking of GCCs and the tenant profile, the majority of the leasing has been done by GCCs, the IT service sector, and flexi workspaces. Now, flexi workspaces is fairly recent that it's growing by leaps and bounds. What are your thoughts on how the tenant profile in general will evolve in India?
In the tenant profile, it is GCC's BFSI, what we call, more than IT, and then IT is in the GCC sector itself and a little bit outside. And it is naturally flexi workspaces because, see, the MSME growth has started slowly, whether you call it the startups or the resurgence of the MSMEs. Now, the MSMEs that are coming back are not going to operate from industrial galas and garages.
You
Because
don't
the
see that
people
happening.
are demanding that they should operate from better premises. So as soon as any company has money, they tend to spend it on better premises. You understand? So when the better premises comes about, it's easier to do it in a flexi co-working space
Right.
rather than do a standalone. Because in a flexi space, I can give the amenities to my employees across the board without having to bear the cost of it alone. It's just like how a large residential complex can have a swimming pool. So only in a flexible working space where a large number of tenants are there, a large number of occupiers are there, is it easy to give a pool table, a billiards table, a sort of a large cafeteria, a gymnasium, and everything else.
Right.
Which a small one company on its own can't do it.
Right.
And it's plug and play. So you're not investing in the capex. So all my money can go into the actual operations of the company rather than in the capex of the premises.
Right.
Correct? So all this is where the flexi workspaces are really scoring because they are taking the risk of fitting out and attracting people. And this is the best starter sort of offices, if we can call it.
Right.
You understand? So will they be growing? Yes, they will be growing. But the people who will survive right now, it's a pretty much of a diffused market, and the players will become fewer, like we have seen in other advanced countries, and there will be fewer players with deeper pockets, better operational skills, who will survive in this market.
Okay.
Everybody will not survive if everybody thinks he's going to start a flexi working space.
Right. Well, I want to talk about Bangalore's performance in particular within this market. They've done, again, exceptionally well. They've been leading the last consecutive quarters in terms of the total amount of space absorbed. Now, in H1 2025, they've absorbed about 18.2 million square feet, in spite of having 8 million square feet of new supply entering the market. What does this say about their supply demand?
See, there are three big markets in India: MMR, Bangalore, and NCR.
Yes.
In MMR, I would also add Pune because it's becoming one continuum. These are the three big giants.
Okay.
Okay. Then you have the Chennai, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad
Right.
markets, but Kolkata. But these three are the biggest markets. Of these three, Bangalore is in the lead because of its talent pool, as well as because the prices in Bangalore are still more reasonable than in MMR, Pune, or
Delhi NCR.
Delhi NCR. Okay, so people still are attracted to Bangalore because, in my opinion, Bangalore, if I have to give it a name, they call themselves the IT capital, which is correct, no doubt. But I would also call it the youth capital of India. So for a young person, Bangalore always looks to be very attractive by way of social amenities,
Right.
economic opportunities,
Yeah.
you know, and it is easier to find a place for him to stay. It is more cheaper,
Definitely,
it is
yeah.
reasonable. So it is attracting a lot of talented manpower, even from the tier 2, tier 3 cities who go there, relocate. And that's the first stepping ground. Because to come to NCR and Mumbai is a little bit more expensive, more challenging.
And this expense works both on a personal front as well as for a company or a established company or even a startup.
Right.
Even if you're established elsewhere and looking to expand, you might not want to go into the most expensive market first. You know, you might think a Bangalore is a better place to start to see how, say, if you're a rural company and wanting to see how the urban India will accept you, Bangalore might be a better and cheaper place to start. Similarly, like you were saying, even from a personal point of view, if you're leaving a smaller town or a village and wanting to move to the big city and start work, live out your dreams and all of that, again, Delhi and Mumbai to some extent might seem they're definitely more expensive, but they're also a lot more overwhelming. You
So
know,
you're saying Bangalore is like a halfway house.
it's a good starting point, like
Right.
before you get into the big cities.
Right.
Then, and Bangalore is also huge and continuing to grow, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a
It
great
is,
social life. it's got
exactly.
a
I think,
great-
I don't know if it's a halfway house or not, but it's a good starting point
Definitely.
for somebody coming into the urban field.
If you're
Yeah.
moving from rural to urban, I'd say Bangalore is the
But
perfect in between.
Bangalore
spot, you know.
has lots of headwinds by way of its infrastructure.
Yes.
You know, as Abhay said in his previous conversation, that infrastructure shouldn't be following commercial development. It should be
Right.
the other way around.
Yeah.
But in India, because of the paucity of resources,
Yeah.
and sometimes we also are deficient in urban planning,
Right.
infrastructure is following commercial development.
Yeah.
That's a little bit sad. And I think this government especially has taken it on a war footing. Nobody can say it is not, whether it is highways, expressways,
Yeah.
metros. Imagine in how many cities we have metros starting,
Right.
you know. So there's metros in all the tier 2 cities. That is going to transform, because once those infrastructure actually clicks into place, there will be further commercial growth.
Understood.
You understand? So I expect to see commercial growth, whether it's in Jaipur or Indore or Bhopal or Coimbatore or, you know, Bhubaneswar. There will all be commercial growth there.
Right. Next, I'd like to talk about the digitization initiatives in India. We've recently seen the central government introduce a centralized portal for RERA projects. We've also seen in Maharashtra the State Department talking about integrating the state records, the sub-registrar records, with the MahaRERA portal. The idea here is to reduce confusion in terms of ownership, to create transparency and have a better communication between departments within a state. And first, I'd just like to get your thoughts on digitization in general and how you feel it's impacting the industry.
See, quite clearly, digitization, technology, all this is the future.
Right.
Whether we like it or we don't like it, it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Second, it is of tremendous benefit and advantage because it increases speed, efficiency, effectiveness, and cuts down on all the fraud, duplicity. All that is cut down.
Right.
So, should we embrace it? Of course, we should embrace it. Should it be done faster? It should be done faster. We need it yesterday rather than tomorrow.
Right.
Correct. See, what is happening is when you go to a sub-registrar's office, if he doesn't have a centralized database on which he can check who is the owner who is selling, right now, when Neha sells to Abhay,
Yes.
the sub-registrar is not really checking if Neha is the owner of the property.
Right.
He's only identifying Neha, he's identifying Abhay, and he's saying,
This is the
I'm
property."
standing as a witness to say this happened.
Right.
But tomorrow, if somebody else turns up and says, Neha was not the owner of the property, but I am the owner of the property, you're fighting a court case.
Right.
Whereas if it is all digitized, the sub-registrar will say, hey, wait a minute, this property is not in the name of Neha, and who the hell are you?
Right.
You might be Neha as per your Aadhaar and PAN and passports and everything, but doesn't mean you'll sell off somebody else's property.
Right.
He'll put a stop there. So that's why when there's a land record, Saat-Bara, property index cards, you need to consolidate and have one digital database
Right.
that we know for sure that when I access the database, I know that he is the owner, just like in a car.
Right.
You access one database and I have to say he's the owner of that car, isn't it?
And that is at a personal level. This is now even happening, unfortunately, in Maharashtra and all at a builder. I mean, I'm sure it's happening all over the country. MahaRERA is the first to try and address it, maybe.
Yes.
But it's happening at a builder level and a building level, where
Right.
you're no longer sure who actually owns that land, where that building is being built or supposed to be being built.
Right.
Correct. But
So
see,
there's literally, if that
but-
itself is under doubt, then everything
Yeah,
that
but-
built on top of that is
Yeah.
also legally in a grey area.
correct.
Right?
But that is where the integration will help, because typically the municipal corporation should have the record,
Right.
but it is also with the SRO.
Yes.
So how do they talk to each other?
Yeah.
You understand? So if it is one integrated database, somebody can look in and see, yes, this building is in the name, so that approval which has come for the blueprint has come from the owner.
Right.
Because that's what the municipal corporation,
Yeah.
and that's what RERA also wants to know, whether it is
Yeah.
the owner who has actually taken the approval, who has taken it, who is selling it,
Right.
why is they doing it.
Yeah.
So the integration of the digital services is a must.
Right.
You understand? And the unification of RERA at the federal level is also good, because then for somebody to search and say, in NCR, am I under Haryana? Am I under Delhi? Am I under UP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let it be unified. This is also okay.
Yeah.
And it also pushes other states to come up to speed
Right.
also,
Yes.
because you're becoming more and more transparent to say, have you, because you would have definitely heard that in MahaRERA has taken out quite a few projects.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a question which you have.
I do.
Because there's a bulk of projects, almost 5,000 projects have been chucked out.
Yes.
5,000 projects have been put in abeyance, as they call
Yes.
it. So they're scrapping and they're doing, because you have to overhaul. No?
Right.
If you're not going to give me figures, then let me just put a stop to your project. No?
Yes. So there are the under construction projects, and there's this issue with, like you said, stalled projects under abeyance. There's some states don't update their RERA websites. It's not so easy to navigate. So on one hand, it's great that it's all becoming uniform. It's all standardized. So whether I'm buying a house in Maharashtra or Karnataka, doesn't matter. I could, go to the same website and pick up the information. But there's also, over there, will we need a lot of hand-holding initially for buyers to understand the benefit of it? The information is there, but how do you make sense of it?
I personally feel I'm a big advocate of brokers.
Okay.
Contrary to what most people think that, you should not have a broker, I feel it is most foolish, if I can say so, to try and save 1% and put your 100% at risk.
Right.
You understand? Brokers need to be registered, they need to be licensed, they need to be educated, they need to have more knowledge. And in fact, they might need even more commission.
Right.
Because anywhere in the world, they play a big role. Because
Yes.
exactly as you said, I, as a lay person who deals in real estate transaction maybe once in a few years,
Yes.
I'm not going to steep myself in figuring out how to navigate RERA.
Right.
It's as much as I'm going to figure out how to do the DMV to figure out whether my car is registered or not. I'm not going to do it,
Yeah.
correct? It's not a day-to-day affair,
Yeah.
okay? So, I need an expert who will help me to do that. So he is the guy who should be able to go on to the RERA site and tell me this project is good, or even if you're doing a secondary sale of an old home, this is well established, this guy is the owner, so you don't have to worry. You know, you don't lose your sleep that you're buying it in a Benami from a Benami owner
Correct.
or something. So I am absolutely sure that this is going to be complicated. Real estate is one of the most complicated investments you can make, contrary
Right.
to what most people think. Okay, so there is the legal aspect, there is the technical aspect, there is the approvals aspect, the engineering aspect, there is the commercial aspect. So there are a whole lot of dimensions to real estate.
Right.
And it's only a good broker who will understand and navigate you through it, holding your hand. And that's why he wants that fee for it.
Right.
You understand? So brokers should become aware of how to navigate the RERA side.
They should become experts of
Naturally. If I am going to apply for a passport, I apply once in 10 years. So why should I be aware of how to apply it?
Fair
If the
enough.
passport side is very complicated, then the travel
you
agents
go
will
to
step
an
up and
agent,
say,
right?
look, give me
Yeah.
$500, I'll sit with you and help you fill up the form.
Fair enough.
It is fair, no?
Yes. But in the secondary market is where we come to the state level initiatives. Maharashtra has been at the forefront of it, like we were discussing. They're trying to integrate RERA and get all the information under one place. They've also recommended, it's still in the process of getting implemented, but the idea of vertical property cards. There's also the initiative of one state, one registration, where they're trying to say wherever you buy a plot of land, a house, you can register.
Correct.
These are great initiatives, though they've had some trouble in rolling it out. So it's still, somewhat in in the process.
The initiatives are really good and will definitely help clean up the industry in the long run will make the real estate industry far more transparent, and to the extent where there'll be literally more and more transactions being done, more and more avenues of finance being introduced within real estate, because the transparency has come up to that point. But at the moment, we are literally in the process of digitization, as you've been saying.
Yeah.
So now in this pre-digitization one, of course, there was a big issue of frauds and all that were happening. But to think about it, even everything that was going wrong in terms of these stalled projects or projects coming up in illegal plots of land or places where they're not supposed to be and all of that, the people who were benefiting the most, apart from those few private players, were also the lower level government guys who are in charge of all of this, right? So now those are the same people who have to implement and digitize these. So of course they're not going to be in a tearing hurry to get it done to that extent. But it is going to happen whether they like it or not.
Yeah, I don't think they have a say
which will
when it
change
comes
things
to
to quite a large extent, because then you will stop seeing all this nonsense happening at such a low level.
Right.
Then if some scam has to happen, it will be at a much higher level. It won't be at a local building level where a small-time contractor is benefiting and some 20 poor people who've invested in that house have lost their life savings. That will stop. And that is a big deal.
There's also the problem in Mumbai of the conveyance in most housing societies not having been changed. That's why there's a lot of problem even in creating these vertical property cards.
Correct.
The documentation is very complex because there are multiple bodies.
That's why you need a regulator.
Right.
You understand? Because earlier we never had a regulator till RERA came in. So where do you complain? You complain in consumer courts, you go to civil courts. If it is really a bad breach of trust, you go as a criminal case. So it's all over the place, where you can complain. Because you need one regulator where I can go and say, look, this guy has not conveyed to me. And as per rules, he was supposed to convey to me as soon as the society was ready. He didn't do it.
Yeah.
So you have to pull him up. And RERA can pull him up and blacklist and not give him registration for his other projects.
Yes.
So it has the teeth also if it wants to implement it, which a singular individual owner can't do it.
Yeah.
you know. So I always believe that people talk about individual owners being able to do something. No. There are
Right.
certain things which we do only once a few years, like, you know, as I said, buying a car or applying for a passport or buying a house or even sometimes buying jewelry or something.
Right.
Now, you can't expect an individual guy to figure out the caratage and the
course
hallmarking
not.
of gold here.
Yeah.
If you have a regulator and you have put your foot down and you
Yes.
pull up all those jewelers who are not selling hallmark gold, then you're helping the consumer at large. No?
Yes.
Don't tell me that, you know, आप देखिए ऐसा करिए इसको.
True.
It
And
doesn't
see,
work that way.
RERA is so young. It's basically like seeing the early days of a SEBI, you know.
Yeah.
There was a lot of teething issues,
Yeah.
and as more scams were uncovered, the rules got stricter,
and
literally,
SEBI
right?
today is one of the best
So,
in the world.
Yeah.
but now nobody messes around with them so easily because you know you will get caught.
But as Abhay
So-
rightly said, the digitization rollout will take effect because
Yeah.
there might be a blowback from the lower end, and it is going to be a mammoth task. But you cannot stop the tide; it is here to come. That
Right.
much is there. So I think the faster we embrace it, the faster we all get used to technology, the better it is. Whether you're old or a senior citizen or you're young, there is no way out of this.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon for regular notifications. If there's something you'd like to hear us talk about, please let us know in the comment section below. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in.